Hello and welcome to the Swan Song Project Podcast. My name is Ben Buddy Slack and I'm the founder of the Swan Song Project. We're a charity that helps people facing into their lives to write and record their own original songs. If you'd like to find out more about the charity, you can check out our website, which is swansongproject.co.uk, and you can follow us on our various social media channels, which will be in the description of this episode. You can also get our new fancy t-shirts. We have this one and we have a lighter blue one, which are now available to buy on our website if you would like one. The podcast features songwriters and we talk about one of their songs and tell us a bit about how they wrote it. Then we talk about the share with us a songwriting tip, might be useful for the songwriters, and we also talk about songs meaningful to them in some way related to bereavement. This episode features Nicky Bray, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so today I'm here with Nicky Bray. Thanks for joining me, Nicky.
Thank you for having me. This is wonderful. What the fun that you can have in your own home these days.
We're all getting creative, aren't we? Looking forward to talking with you. So this is the Swan Song Project Podcast. If you've watched or listened to these before, you'll know we're doing in three sections. First, we're going to have one of my guest songs, and we're going to talk a little bit about how they wrote that. Then section 2, Nicky's going to share with us a songwriting tip. And then section 3, we're going to talk about a song that's meaningful to Nicky in some way relating to bereavement. But before we carry on, so I met Nicky years ago now at one of your Tower of Song events that you're still hosting.
Yeah,
to this day.
I think it could have been one of the early ones. Was it like 2014 or something? It was.
Could have been, yeah.
It was when Captain of the Lost Waves was our guest.
It was
guest artist, wasn't it? So it was early days then. Yeah. So you were there right from the start, practically. Yeah. Yeah.
Sadly, I've not been to as many over the years as I would have liked to have been, but
that's the only bad thing about running them is that whenever I bump into people, they're like, "I'm so sorry I didn't come to Tower of Song," and I'm like, "It's fine. We're there every month. You know, if you come, it's great, but don't feel bad about it. We're busy people." So.
Before we get started on the usual structure of the podcast, I'd like Nicky to just introduce. So you can say a bit more about the Tower of Song night and some of the other music work that you're involved with in the community.
That would be great. Yeah, so Tower of Song is so it's a monthly night for songwriters or people that want to have a go at kind of writing songs for the first time. That I co-run with Carl Flattery, who's a very good friend and a songwriting lecturer at Leeds Beckett. And so the idea of the night, which is the first Thursday of the month, is that we have a different theme and a different musical style or some kind of musical challenge. To hopefully inspire people to write songs for the next month. And it's very democratic. We base those on audience suggestions as well. So people have some influence in what they might end up writing about. So that's how it works. And yeah, we've been running that since February 2013, and that was inspired by a songwriting residential that Carl set up for Leeds Beckett students. So, and a few of us went along as musical mentors, and we had a few days of writing songs with people we just met. And then at the end of it, we were like, "Oh, it'd be nice to have some kind of regular opportunity for people to kind of perform new songs." So that's how it came about.
I think it's a great idea because I think that's really. It's a really good way of getting people into songs, just giving them prompts and things, because you often have a theme and a genre, don't you?
Yeah.
So it might be to write a song about this thing in the style of this. And then those restrictions are often really freeing, I think, for people, especially when you're first starting off, like, what am I going to write about? And it's a good exercise in, this is taking those questions out.
Spot on. That is exactly how I would describe it. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Taking away choices can actually free you up to go, "Oh, that's fine, I can just focus on this." And yeah, absolutely. And it works for me. Selfishly, it's what's kept me writing songs for the last 7.5 years. So yeah, hopefully, we've seen it works for other people too, which is great. So
yeah, it's a great thing. I'll put the links in the description if people want to check it out. You still doing a virtual version of it during this time?
Yes, we are. We're doing it online, so it's still the first Thursday of the month. And again, it's been really lovely because one thing that one of the many things that we really cherish about the night is just how welcoming and kind everybody is and how respectful, and that's kind of carried on online, so it's still got that kind of intimate vibe. And actually, I mean, people never speak when other people are playing, and you can't do that on Zoom because then you just we mute everyone, so even if they were, we wouldn't know. So yeah, it's carried on with that lovely intimate supportive vibe, so we've been really happy with that.
And people can presumably come and just attend on Zoom as well if somebody wanted to come and just watch.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's really, yeah. Sometimes people think that they have to come and perform to be there, but absolutely, yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. You definitely come along and be a lovely audience member as well, if you like.
Yeah, so I really recommend it. Anyone interested in getting into songwriting, that's a really good place to go and develop some skills. Yeah, so I'll put all the links in the description. And do you want to also just say something briefly about your work with our mutual friend Tony at bringing it all back home?
Yeah, so just over a year ago now, I had a total kind of, let's call it a midlife crisis in a really positive way. I think I will, yeah. So midlife crises can be good things. So I kind of I left a long-term previous job and became a community music worker, working freelance. And so since then, I've been working on a lovely music and mental health project called Bring It All Back Home, which is led by Tony Lambert and based at Old Chapel Studios and funded by Leeds Music Trust. And yeah, so we support vulnerable adults using music to try and improve emotional well-being. So there's kind of individual sessions, group sessions, all kinds of things. And again, the people that use the project are fantastic and really supportive and kind to each other. And it's just like a lovely little family, really. So yeah, really, yeah, it's a lovely thing to be involved with.
Yeah, a lot of good people down there involved with that project. I was saying just before, we hope to get Tony on the Swan Song Project podcast sometime soon as well. So he's got a lot of great songs himself and interesting experiences.
Yeah.
So that'd be great. Cool. Well, let's get on with the usual structure of the podcast then. So we're here to talk about one of your songs to start with, Nicky.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you to introduce this song for us, and then we'll hear it.
Right. Do you just want the title and nothing else for now?
Yeah, and then we can chat about it afterwards.
Okay, cool. So this song is called Gary Vinegar. Oh, Gary Lineker, I always saw you as a winner, sir, till you started selling salt and vinegar, which I found rather sinister. Oh, Gary Lineker, such an outstanding fellow. You never once got a yellow card at club level or in your 80 internationals, so I find this quite irrational, unwishable and unnutritional. Your moral code, it never could be faulted until you sold your soul for Eddie Salted. So help me, Gary, please solve this conundrum. How did you go from football hero to peddling cheese and onion? Oh, Gary Lineker, I bet your children never finish their dinner, sir. Living in a household full of packs of saturated fat-filled snacks. Those are the facts, Gary Lineker. You were the soccer sweetheart of the nation, till your fans you did forsake for smoky bacon. So tell me, Gary, what's your motivation? To endorse was to source with evident elation. Take heed, Gary Lineker, your former teammates aren't getting any thinner, sir. Glenn Hoddle Waddles and Chris Waddles grown oh so wide, and Gaza would be far more live if not for the pull of sour cream and chive. Tell me why, Gary Lineker, why? Oh, tell me why, Gary Lineker, why? Take a bow.
Okay, brilliant. So that was Gary Vinegar by Nicky Bray. So yeah, what can you tell us about writing that one, Nicky?
Speaks for itself, doesn't it? Surely. But so yeah, shall I talk a bit about how I came to write the song and things, or
Yeah, that'd be great.
Interest. So obviously we talked about Tower of Song, so you know the concept of that. So so this was for a Tower of Song back in 2015. So again, in the fairly early days. And the theme and style for that, which actually are quite tame compared to what people sometimes come up with, were crisps was the theme and barbershop was the musical style. An obvious combination, you may say, but
there's a great legacy of barbershop songs about crisps.
Oh, I know. It's like, how do we write a song that hasn't already been written? It's good, So when I write a song, I like to try and find a kind of an unusual angle on the theme, which also, mainly ties in with something that I like or I've got experience of. They say write about what you know. So although weirdly enough, I don't eat crisps, but yeah, so I don't have too much experience in that area. But I think I remember coming up with the initial idea for the song fairly quickly. So I'm a really big fan of 90s international football, particularly Italia 90 was like a highlight of my childhood. And I also really loved Gary Lineker. He was one of my footballing heroes and still is. But I remember being a bit surprised when he kind of stopped playing football and he started appearing in like crisps adverts for Walkers. So I was like, that's a little bit of a change of direction. So with this song, I thought, it'd be funny to write from the perspective of a fan who's like really devastated about Gary Lineker's kind of career change. So that was kind of the initial idea. And I thought, having the barbershop style would add to the kind of drama and therefore hopefully the comedy of it. So as I mentioned, we have the night on the first Thursday of each month. And in my old job, that was a really peak time at work and I was kind of traveling a lot, running a lot of events. So I had been working on a few ideas for lyrics, but I hadn't had a chance to kind of sit down and start on the music side of things. But with the lyrics, I find, I'm always kind of writing lyrics when I'm out and about. So I like to pick some key phrases once I've got that initial idea and kind of rhymes that I want to work into the song. As you'll have heard from the songs, I'm quite big on rhymes or almost rhymes that you can kind of get away with. So I think I remember in that case, I knew I wanted to have lots of rhymes with Lineker or almost rhymes with Lineker.
I really like is it a compound rhyme they call it? So the Lineker or vinegar with winner sir.
Dinner sir.
And dinner sir, yeah.
There's a few sirs in there because, still trying to be polite to Gary because respect is still there. So and obviously I wanted to kind of get a few different crisp flavours in, and I thought, well, if I put them at the end of lines, then I can rhyme with them, and that that could be fun. That would keep me entertained anyway. So
did you do that by like selecting some crisp flavours and then finding rhymes from and then that's the way I've done songs like that kind of like that kind of way of writing before. I've done my list of relevant stuff and then I've worked backwards.
Yeah, definitely, it's great. Are you a bit of a fan of making lists? Because I certainly am as well. So yeah, it's good, isn't it? I think lots of us like making lists. So yeah, and in a way that's because you can have your initial idea, but you might find that the story is led by the fact that you want to rhyme something with smoky bacon. So that's quite an interesting way of letting it kind of flow. So be led by the crisp flavours, that's what I say. But
I think it's the same thing as you were saying with the Tower of Song night, is that sometimes those restrictions do give you more freedom in a way. And sometimes it's like, I find that if I'm working specifically for a certain rhyme, it can pull you in a direction that otherwise you wouldn't have gone. Which is really good, I think.
Definitely, yeah.
And makes you be more creative sometimes with when I'm trying to get to that word. How can I?
Yeah, definitely. And also, another thing that I really love, I love doing in my songs and I love in other people's songs, is when you hear a lyric or a word and you think, I bet that word's never been in a song before. And you just get really, it's like, I've never heard that. That happened at Tower of Song, actually. Somebody used the phrase X directory and I was like, I've not heard that in a song before. But I was in a band I was in, about 15 years ago. We had a song about, it was like a parody of those kind of 60s songs where somebody died at the end. It was all kind of that kind of disaster song. But it was about somebody in Asda when there was like a rush for the cut price items in the cut price aisle or whatever. And so there was a bit where I spoke about chicken goujons. And I remember we did a gig and this man just came up and he went, I've never heard goujon in a song before. And that had made his night. I was like, easily pleased. But yeah, lists and lyrics and letting yourself be led by that is quite good fun. So I did have some lyrics prepared. I'm not quite sure how much I had, but I remember the evening before Tower of Song, and I'd been running like an event for schools in Stockport, and I got home that evening and I was like, right, Bray, you've got to write a song for tomorrow. So I knew I had to kind of put some music together. And again, for me, I find, well, I suppose with anything, not just music, having that urgent deadline is really good, because there's no time for faffing. That you've got to use your time really productively. So I kind of cracked on with it. And fortunately, on that occasion, I didn't have to get get an instrument out, because it was purely the voices. So that definitely helped. So during lockdown, I've finally got myself sorted out and got some equipment for kind of proper home recording. But at the time then, it was proper old school. So I knew that I had to get these different vocals down. So I used the technique of bouncing the vocals back and forth. So I had this, I've got it here, show and tell, this little voice recorder that my sister had bought me kind of shortly before for Christmas, which is an awesome thing. So I recorded, so I kind of wrote a bass kind of harmony and recorded that on my phone, and then I played it and sang along with it and recorded it on my voice recorder, and then I did the same again back on my phone. So I then had a kind of a 3-part harmony that I'd be able to sing along with when I did it live. And a fortuitous sound effect of that was that it also had, because it was crap quality, it kind of was, let's say, it was more retro sound quality as well. So, which was really good for a barber shop style song, which I could say was completely intentional, but it wasn't. It was just kind of a lucky side effect, really. So, and another fun fact: the bass harmony on the song, people often think is maybe my partner, but it is me. I do have a low voice, but weirdly, I can't get the low notes anymore. It's weird. I know your voice changes as you get older, but when I tried to sing that bass harmony, I can't get the low notes. What's that about?
I've often heard it being the other way around, that people's voices get deeper as they get older.
Well, I think my range, it's not big anyway, and it's just getting kind of smaller and smaller, like some kind of disaster movie when you're in a room that's kind of closing. So, but hey, you're a man with an incredible low range, so I have to maybe get you in to help me re-record it sometimes.
Yeah, be a bass singer.
So that's kind of how it was made. I mean, it's a very, like many of my, well, probably all of my songs, it's got a very simple structure. So there's only really the verse and I guess a couple of bridges, you'd probably call them. And I figured that there was hopefully enough to kind of capture people's attention with all the vocals and the lyrics and general silliness and props and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of how it was written. And this is actually, I must have made these in advance, because I didn't make them the night before, because I did use the work printer. But when I perform it live, these are I have my 3 backing singers. So cardboard cutouts. They've got some hats on at the moment because I dressed them up for something. It's a bit weird. So when I played it, I must have made these in advance. So I love the fact that I wasn't actually writing the song, but I was spending time printing my own face out at work. So I had those, and I kind of, as you'll have seen from the song anyway, I slot them into a tube and carry them round. Those are my backing singers, really. So I think I should have laminated them. They are getting a little bit dog-eared, but
you have a name for your backing singers?
No, I don't. No, I should, didn't I? Oh, after all this time, I feel a bit mean now that I just let them be. Yeah, it's all about me as the lead singer. I don't care about my band, but no, that's not true at all. So
I always liked ZZ Top had one album where they've got the Lone Wolf horns as the horn section, and I'm not sure it was actually them playing it, but in the videos and the pictures it was them. But I like the idea that the band have their own separate set, what they call it, a different section. Again, they just wear different hats or something like that.
Oh, lovely. Yes, I'll have to check that out. But actually, talking about going back to bringing it all back home. So not long after I started working on for the project, I think it was the first gig that we ever had with some of the adults that we support was at a charity football event. So it's this really lovely event. There was this football match going on and a little stage with music on during the day. And we weren't sure if we had enough songs as a band. So I said, I've got a football related song that I can play if need be. So I brought the heads and I put them on the stage at the side. And then in the end, we had enough songs, so it was fine. So then I went and picked up my heads, and I thought, this now just looks like I carry around cardboard cutouts of my own head, and I just put them on stage like some weird mascot. So there we go. That was like,
it's like
quite
it's
nice.
always a friendly audience, you know, like regardless of who else is there, you've got your three
Yeah,
faces.
that's true. Yeah, it's fine if you're so horrible that nobody will join a band with you, then you just make your own friends, literally. So yeah, it worked for
Yeah,
me. So
it's
yeah.
good advice. I was going to ask you about with Tower of Song. How do you find, like you say, the genres change a lot? Could you give us a few other examples of some of the genres that you've had, and how do you find writing the songs in short notice in that genre? You know, if it's a style that you're
Oh,
not particularly familiar about, do
oh, I
you
like that.
do you have
I
to
like that
listen to a
question.
lot of stuff, or
I do like that question. Right, let's think now. This is awful because we've been running for 7.5 years, and this is a bit like when someone says, "Oh, who's your favourite band?" and you can't think of any bands that
yeah,
exist in
yeah,
the world. But no, I should be able to do this. Well, we've had sometimes it's kind of strictly genres, and sometimes it's more like songwriting challenges. So one of my favourite ones, which was because we started a kind of an occasional Newcastle Tower of Song as well, because that's where I grew up, and I still have some music friends there. So the first Newcastle one we had, which I think was a couple of years ago, um, the theme was beginnings, so we started off quite, quite kind of gentle with them. But the style, and this was Carl's idea, was to use the same four chords in the same order throughout the song. So which was nice because it meant that it wasn't so scary, and that it said, right, everybody's got to do a jazz song or a rap song or
yeah,
whatever, so that they might not be familiar with. And that was really nice. So sometimes it's like that. And we've had other things like the last online one we had said, oh, use a found sound and incorporate that into the song. So sometimes it's a bit more like that. But actual genres, and I'm amazed that people keep thinking of new ones, our regulars who know what we've had before. But
yeah.
we've had, I think we've had all the kind of obvious ones, and then we've had. Oh heck! Now I'm going to not be able to remember. Tell me a genre, and I'll tell you if I've had it. Actually, I mentioned rap. We had rap, and I think I've got a feeling I was the only person who attempted rap, which is terrible because you can probably gather. I mean, I talk a lot, but I rap is just I bow down to people who can rap. It's not really my style, but I gave it a go and made it suitably silly. But yeah, I remember we had country because me and my partner did a song that was kind of about that, like those old horror films where you get kind of locals that are a bit weird. So we did one about that. I'm trying to think I mean, Barbershop was lovely. I really enjoyed doing that one. Again, that's really kind of inclusive because people that don't play instruments can have a go at that as well. But flamenco was a good one as well. That was really nice. And yeah, you mentioned about how do you go about kind of starting with that. I really love the research side of it. So maybe I haven't done it so much recently because I've been a bit too busy, but the whole listening to songs of that genre, and I really love then picking out the things that make them of their genre. So thinking, oh yeah, like yeah, we had kind of 60s girl group disaster songs or that kind of genre of things, and listening to those and picking out, oh, there might be a bit of a spoken word bit, or there might be this and that. That's always really good fun. We had another one that wasn't really a genre we had was an unseasonal seasonal song, and that was in October, so I did my Christmas song early that year, so that was quite handy. Trying to think what else. Yeah, what
So that's just a great exercise in itself, isn't it? Is kind of as a listening exercise, even if you're not writing the song, to listen to a song and or example of a particular genre and try and pick out what it is. So
yeah,
why do I think that's this type of song, and why do I think this is that type of song? What things?
definitely. Yeah, it's fun. And then go, oh, how can I do that? And you put it in there, and we've also genre wise, we've also occasionally had specific artists. So we had Bowie. That was really good fun. Actually, I did the song that I wrote for that. I did it again the other day because I managed to cram it into a theme when I didn't have a new song to do it. But that, yeah, listening to that, and when we did that, people like included little bits of the song that almost sounded like a little bit of a tribute to Bowie, and some people did the voice, so that was nice. We've had ABBA as well. We did ABBA, so that was good. But I mean, you listen to ABBA songs and it's like, where do you even start? Because I mean, the songs are incredible, aren't they? They're so
Yeah.
difficult. So I totally cheated, and that was, sometimes we have a tie because we do it democratically. So that month we had to write an ABBA-esque song, which was also a drinking song, and the theme was unexplained mysteries. So I cheated a bit and I just did a song where if you heard an ABBA song title, you had to have a drink. Although some of it was a bit ABBA-y, but yeah. So you can always subvert the theme, especially if you're a co-host. That's part of the.
That's a creative challenge.
Yeah. But it's wonderful, and people some genres, like I mentioned rap, some people just don't feel that they've got the experience to kind of do it, but some genres most people give a go. So it's useful as a songwriter because it does kind of get you to explore different sides of your music and to develop yourself as a songwriter. So yeah, again, thank you to everyone that suggests things for Tower of Song. You're driving us on with our songwriting.
Yeah, it's a great thing. How do you find like, are you still writing much? Do you write much of your stuff outside of Tower of Song still? And how do you find being, writing all these different ways and being structured? Then if you're writing a song away from that, how does that feel? Does it feel different? And has it changed over that time?
That's really interesting. So normally, because I'm kind of writing a song a month, I don't actually write any, I say normal songs. I mean, that's what's become my back catalogue is Tower of Song songs. And again, I'm really grateful to have that inspiration and the fact that really other people are providing the ideas and I'm just writing the songs, which is great. But occasionally I do have to write non-Tower of Song songs. So for example, so this year with a friend I met on one of the music residentials, actually, a former Leeds Beckett student, we set up a project called Musicultural Conversations, which is like sessions using kind of interactive musical and drama activities and with themes each week and a specific song that we write on the theme, which incorporates other people's kind of voices and ideas and experiences. So I was having to write songs for those sessions. But fortunately, because they were themed sessions, I got to, I still had a theme to write on, but they were really, really different songs because they were kind of almost half songs so that there was space to get the people at the sessions, refugees and asylum seekers, to kind of bring their experiences into the songs as well and their voices and their language. So it was quite different, and I had to make them not as silly. And also because we were trying to help people with their English, my ridiculous wordplay and just using language that you would not use in the street when you meet somebody, I had to really tone that down. So yeah, that was really interesting. It was like, kind of, there was probably a little bit of what there is normally when I write songs, but it was a very, very different audience. But again, that's a very specific project, isn't it? That's not just, but I haven't been in a kind of a band writing songs for a few years. So I don't know what would happen if that, I'll just have to play with my cardboard heads really, because they know what to expect. But I don't know. It would be really interesting to go back into a band now and see how that's kind of developed me as a songwriter, I guess. But
I think it's interesting, just in my experience of it, like I think the more community music I was doing, and obviously the more the Swan Song stuff, then it's like writing my own songs just feels very different. And sometimes it's like trying to remember, like what to, without having those restrictions that these things put on, and that guidance from someone else of like, right, well, and then it's kind of useful to self-impose in some way, like, right, I want to write a song like this now. But I find it tricky sometimes now to remember what my songs are. Come back to that.
Yeah. Like, of course, yeah.
What's my voice as a songwriter now? Now that I'm not trying to write a song for someone else.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting kind of. But I've spoken to some other community artists about it as well, who's like, it's never been an issue for. So I guess everyone's different with it, but for me, it's I'm still trying to recapture that. What I feel is actually my
essence of Ben. That sounds like some kind of perfume, doesn't it? But,
it wouldn't be a popular perfume.
So it might turn you into a fantastic songwriter, just a dab of this. But that would be good to have to sell that. But I guess for me, obviously for the Swan Song Project, you're helping other people find and express their voice, aren't you? So, but with the Tower of Songs, it's just me being silly and doing songs really. So I guess Tower of Song has become, I think it's definitely turned me into a songwriter. I mean, I've been in a lot of bands before then and writing and co-writing stuff, but as a solo artist, absolutely, I tell Carl this all the time, that's what's turned me into a songwriter, all from his music residentials and stuff. So that's turned me into a songwriter. So there wasn't really a a pre-Tower of Song, what style have I got? I mean, you know, as a teenager, I wrote all the embarrassing teenage angst kind of lyrics, which I hope I never find in a box because I'll just be gutted and cringe. But yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, interesting stuff. So let's move into section 2 now, shall we? This is where I ask my guests to share with us a songwriting tip. So what would your tip be for us, Nicky?
So the disclaimer is that this is what works for me and my kind of style of music, which is very much kind of focused on words and storytelling and general ridiculousness, really. So as you will see, as you've seen with the song, and I know other people focus on the music first, and that, you know, maybe sometimes the feel of a guitar riff or a piano part might actually give you the idea for what you want the song to be about. So I'm kind of the reverse of that. But certainly what works for me is that the first thing that I have to do before I write a song is to think of that kind of idea, that concept or that angle on the theme. So like the beginning of the story, really. So once I've done that, like once I've planted that seed, it usually happens quite quickly. So the ideas grow. It's like, oh yeah, I could do that. But until I've got that seed, I find it's generally a waste of time to sit down and try and write a song. If I've not got that idea, I just don't find works for me. And something else, again, I don't know if this is just me, or I think, I was speaking to someone the other day who said it was a similar thing, that I find I'm more likely to think of that initial idea in between other things that I'm doing. So if I'm really busy and my brain's really buzzing and I'm thinking of loads of different things, it's almost as if like that idea comes and I'm like, no, I haven't got time. And it's like, come on, you know, you've got to get... So I have to go, all right then, and make some notes and then get that out of the way, and then I can get on with whatever I'm doing. But I definitely find that it's when I'm really, really busy and multitasking and that I get those ideas. And I guess more kind of obvious general tips. I mean, I'm sure people will know about the kind of importance of having a notebook with you at all times so you can scribble down ideas. But also like having a way of recording yourself is really, really important, I find. So probably for most people, the voice recorder on your phone is probably easiest. So when I'm out and about, I often find that I come up with lyrics. Again, it doesn't usually happen if I'm just sat down with a pencil at home. But if I'm out and about, then I get lyrical ideas or ideas for little vocal tunes. Then I get out my voice recorder. Probably most of my lyrics are written on buses or places like that. So I'm always kind of singing into my phone, and or even like if I've got lyrics and I know what rhythm that I'm going to use, I kind of just speak them into the phone, and then I've got a record of them. So you might get strange looks from people, but you can always say, oh, I'm a spy, and if that's what you prefer them to think of you as. But another tip to do with that is always rename your voice recordings. So it's like musical filing. So I'm fairly good at that, but I have got hundreds of bits of recordings on my phone that are just called like 2009036. And I'm like, where was that chorus that I wrote in 2019? And so yeah, definitely, you know, file your voice recordings carefully. So I think, you know, that's probably a bit of a mishmash of kind of tips about that. But the other tip that I've definitely got, and this is something that kind of Carl spoke to us about on the initial songwriting residentials, is and it's not a quick fix, sadly, but it's like with most things in life, you know, the more that you write songs, the easier that it gets. So for people that are just thinking, oh, how do I start? Oh, this is really, really difficult. You know, you definitely have to put the time in, and it's not a kind of a cool, sexy way of looking at it, but you know, you have to do it and keep doing it, and then it gets easier. So I find that I can write songs pretty quickly these days, and generally am doing them the night before Tower of Song, like a lot of our songwriters. But that's definitely come from practice and writing lots of songs and just getting into the habit of it, and I guess developing your own techniques and stuff. So yeah, putting the time in is a boring tip really with that. But I guess
I think it's a great piece of advice. And I think it's remembering that not all songs are going to be good songs. It's okay to write a song, and then you're like, oh well, I'm never going to play that again. But I wrote it, and it's experience in writing it, and that all writers do that. It's not like, you know, you don't just write hit after hit straight away. You write like anything. You practice and practice and practice, and then you get good stuff.
Well, every song can't be your best song because it needs to be compared to your not best songs. Obviously, that's how comparison works, isn't it? Basically, so definitely. But and the final thing I'll say, sorry, I've given you like a bit of
no, that's great.
Never answer the question straightforwardly, but So, and this is why we've been so lucky with Tower of Song. I find that having a set theme and a deadline by when you have to write a song really helps. So for me, it's, the first Thursday of the month or whatever. And we talked about it right at the start, like if someone says to me, sit down and write a song about anything you want, I'd just be like the kid in the sweet shop. I wouldn't really know kind of what to do. But this idea of narrowing down your choices, and that can actually, it can be if you're kind of feeling a bit rabbit in a headlight, that could be the creative push that your brain needs to kind of really get out there and start writing. And again, if it can be really good fun to think, well, that's theme. How am I going to approach that in a really unusual or novel way? But you'd be surprised. I mean, another thing I love about Tower of Song is the fact we have a theme, and sometimes I think, I've got this idea, but I bet that's dead obvious. I bet that's what everyone will do. And then on the night, you've got all these different interpretations of the theme, and people subverting the theme, or people doing the style for the theme, and vice versa. And it's just great. And you realise, no, actually, our minds all work in different ways, particularly when we're being kind of creative. And I think that's really exciting. You never quite know what's going to come next. So
yeah, definitely. It's always fascinating to see when those kind of things happen. And yeah, I've certainly had that before. Like, everyone's going to write this, and everyone's something completely different.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah. What I was thinking there as well is, like, what I've done before in some sessions is setting, I think of them as arbitrary rules. So I always remember the word arbitrary. And when I first started trying to do this with people, I couldn't remember the word arbitrary at all. But now, if I'm doing this, I'd be like, arbitrary. This is what it means. But so then having a set of guidance, so this is the kind of song I'm going to write, but then also not being afraid to throw them away if you use them to get started, and then being like, actually, this song feels like it's going in a different direction now. Like, this lyric I really like, and it could, kind of feels like it could feel. So I do that quite a lot. Or at first it might be like, I'm going to rhyme these lines and do this, but then once I've started, it might be like, actually no, but I really like the sound of this, so let's go off in that direction now. Sometimes I like to have the rules just as a starting point.
Yeah.
And then then it can take off in a different direction as well.
Yeah, that's a brilliant tip. Yeah, that whole not being too attached to something that it holds you back with finishing a song. I think that's, like, do you get, I find it absolutely, because I rely so heavily on rhymes and things, I find it absolutely gutting where I've got one line left to write. I know how I want the song to end. I've got a rhyme or that I can't find a rhyme, and it's like, I've got this, and I'm like, and then on the one hand, when you find that missing rhyme or whatever, you're like, it's hallelujah. But then if you can't just find it, it's like, why doesn't a word exist to rhyme with something? And you have to give up on it, but you've got to do it, haven't you? You've got to move on. So
and sometimes you could just spend ages on that line, can't you? Like, well, how about if I change that word to this word, it means a similar thing, then I change this one here. There's got to be a way of getting this.
I know. Like,
I always love it. Like, I always think of it like, I don't know, boiling it down always seems to come to the way I think about it. Sometimes it's like with a particular song, I might break it down to line on line, but this verse has to tell this part of the story from here to here. So that means line 1 needs to get this to this, line 2 needs to do this to this, and then you've got to find the words that express that and rhyme and fit the meter and everything like that.
Yeah, it's like it's problem solving. Writing, so I said this to someone the other day, writing a song is like creative and musical problem solving, but in a fun way normally. But yeah, like you said, sometimes it's just, you just need that. But also like that whole structural way of writing songs, which I guess sometimes you just do it automatically. But it's lovely to think, well, with that verse I want to do that, and that line, and this is the line that changes it, and it's the the kind of bit that that surprises people or whatever. It's a fun, structured way of doing it, really. So, but you've got to be prepared to go, put it in the bin, and
no, it's a lot of fun. I was going to ask you about your first tip about concepts, because I think that I know what you mean. I think I have a similar thing, but I was wondering if you could describe it more, how you know when you've got a concept compared to like an idea for a song. What's the difference between when you've got the idea and, like, so I guess using the Gary Vinegar one as an example, like you knew you had to write a song about crisps, but then how did you know when you've got that hook that you were going to do it about the Gary Lineker thing?
It just feels right, Ben. No, I mean, actually, no, and this is a bit like knowing when to give up on things that aren't working. It's like I'm always super excited when I think, I've got this theme and this style, I'm going to write a new song. And when I come up with the idea, I know if it excites me, basically. If it excites me and I immediately start thinking of lyrics, I know it's the right one. But like if I think of an idea and I'm a bit, I don't know how much I like that, then that's how I know. As it is a bit like saying, you know, when you know, which isn't very
Yeah.
helpful. But I would say you've got to be excited about your own song, because if you're not excited about it, I mean, why are other people going to be? Or sometimes I think I get excited about my song ideas and other people are just like, what the hell is that? And it's fine because, you know, you're doing it for yourself as really for the main thing. So, and you just, if other people enjoy your songs, that's fantastic. But you've got to enjoy them and you've got to be excited about them, haven't you? So yeah, I think, and there's lots of times when I come up with ideas for a concept and I'm not that keen on it, and occasionally I just don't write a song for Tower of Song because I haven't got that concept. So if I've got a concept that doesn't excite me, I might, you know, give a half-assed attempt to write a song, and I might get half a song written, but and maybe by that stage I know that it wasn't the right concept, but it's got to be something. Yeah, usually I think of it and I go, oh, and I feel a bit mischievous and I'm going, oh, I can do that. Oh, yeah, that's going to be. So, but yeah, so it's exciting, isn't it? Because you don't know what's going to come out of your own brain. But yeah, again, yeah, knowing when it's not, knowing when to give up on a song, and it doesn't matter. Like you said, you've even if you half write a song, it's fine. It's all part of building up your songwriting muscles, so it's not wasted.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's great, Nicky. Thanks. Really interesting. So let's move into section 3 now, shall we? This is where I ask my guests to share with us a song that's meaningful to them in some way relating to bereavement. And what I'll do here is I'll put the link in the description. So if you're not familiar with the song, you can pause us here and go and listen to it and then come back and we're going to have a chat about it. So what song did you choose for us, Nicky?
So I've chosen The Show Must Go On by Queen. Oh, I love them. So hopefully lots of your not listeners, watchers. Is that what you call podcast watchers?
Listeners
viewers
and watchers.
Listeners and watchers.
There probably is a collective term for them.
Yeah, lovely people.
Lovely people
lovely people that are looking at us. That's them. So yeah. So I'm a massive Queen fan who comes from a family of massive Queen fans. So me and my sister play drums and bass in an all-female guitarless Queen tribute band called Where's Brian, who play very occasionally and not at all at the moment. So so we all love Queen. So it was nice to be able to choose a Queen song. Obviously, it's a very sad song. I think Freddie Mercury died about 6 weeks after it was released as a single. And you know, the concept and lyrics are even sadder, kind of the concept and the lyrics are even sadder in that concept. So yeah, it's a very sad song. But I find it really kind of amazing and inspiring that he was still making music right up until he died. And so he was really ill by the time they recorded it, in 1990 it was. And apparently Brian May was kind of worried that Freddie wouldn't be able to get the vocal part because, you know, the usual demanding kind of vocal part. But when you listen to it, you can hear he pretty much smashed that vocal part, didn't he, really? So yeah, it's fantastic. But for me, I think the song promotes a really important message that just because someone is ill or old or vulnerable, it doesn't mean they can't still kind of express their creative and musical side. And it actually can be really valuable and empowering to do that. I don't need to speak to you about that, do I, Ben? But I think, you know, the Swan Song is just such an amazing example of that. So helping people to do exactly that, both for themselves and as something kind of hugely personal and precious that they can share with and leave for their family and friends. I just think that's, you know, that's a wonderful thing, really. So, yeah, I hadn't really thought of it when I first thought of the song, but it fits really well with the wonderful things that you're achieving with Swan Song. So yeah. Well, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about I don't know if you will have heard of it, but there's a wonderful place in the Netherlands which inspired me to write a song a few years ago about this idea of continuing to be kind of creative right up until the end of your life. So I'm a big fan of the artist Escher. And this is where he spent his final years, so that's how I heard about it. But it's called the Rosa Spears House, and it's like a kind of retirement home in the Netherlands. So it was founded in the 1960s and based on an idea by a harpist called Rosa Spears, to kind of create a community in which people in the arts and sciences could kind of continue to contribute to their chosen fields during the latter stages of their life. So yeah, it's just this lovely place where they've got kind of like a concert hall and a gallery and a cafe and all these kind of events going on. So it's for the residents to kind of create things, but also for visitors to come in and kind of enjoy the art and the music and stuff. And I was like reading on the website, and it said something, it was about kind of where people can create things, but also where younger kind of creative people can come in and they can be inspired and they can collaborate with people. So it just sounds, it's basically where I want to go to retire. So maybe we should start one in Leeds. I mean, we've got a very thriving and supportive kind of musical community. So fancy that being your next project, Ben, setting up that in
Let's
Leeds?
do it.
And I'll book my place. That would be nice. In about maybe 30 or 40 years, I'll be ready to check in there. So that would be.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Thanks for the nice thing you said about Swan Song. But I agree. I remember thinking when I was quite young and first, getting more serious about music. And I remember it was BB King was one of my big heroes. And I remember hearing him say that, when he was, he lived to, was it 89, I think he was, and he was still touring right to the end pretty much. And so this was probably, I think I first saw him when he was about 80, and everyone was talking about if he's going to be retiring soon and stuff like that. I remember BB King saying, I don't want to ever retire. Why would I want to retire? This is what I've done all my life. And I remember at the time thinking that's amazing, but I couldn't really put it into reality of how you'd been working your whole life on something and you didn't want to have a bit of retirement. But with music and with anything creative, it's as long as you can do it, then you can do it, and it's because it gives so much joy to them. And so now I completely understand it, why would BB King not want to do what he loves all the time for people who want to hear it. And if you write poetry or whatever you do, and you can still, and it's one of the good things about it, that different to sports and athletics and physical things like that, even if your physical health deteriorates, you can still express yourself. And it's one of the beautiful things with Swan Song as well. A lot of time, people I work with might be deteriorating in lots of ways, but they've still got a wealth of experience and a way of expressing that in a particular way which is unique to them. And then it's great to then communicate that and not let those things be forgotten or missed out on.
Well, like you said, the wealth of experience that you have, and just the ability to reflect as well, isn't it? I guess that's particularly, I mean, if you know that you're ill and that you're at that stage in your life, you must do so much reflecting, and what a gift to other people to be able to kind of write about it and express that. And again, like I said, for your family and friends to hear that, just
And it's another kind of links back to what you were saying about when something we have a theme and you think everyone's going to write a similar thing about it and how different it always is. It's the same with what I get with Swan Song. People say, "Oh, but everyone writes the same song like this," and it's sometimes there's similar themes, but again, it's nobody's song is ever the same. And so that's why I always kind of encourage other people. Some people say, "Oh, I wouldn't have anything to write about." It's everyone's got a million things to write about.
Well, I guess that must be a big part of your role, is kind of allowing people or encouraging people to value their experiences and their expression and everything like that, because it's what a wonderful thing to be able to hear. I mean, it's
and it's finding those things, like we talked about with finding that concept for the song. You're talking about with your writing, it's sometimes it's that with people, it's finding that thing what's their take on a particular topic that means something to them, and then how that's where we're going now. It's but it's fascinating.
So you kind of do the research with them. Do you kind of chat and then you look for, and then things come up in conversation that they think, oh, actually, I want to sing about that? Or
a lot of the time, sometimes people come in, sometimes people thought about it quite a lot. I mean, so I want to write a song that says this to this person or about this time in my life. But sometimes if they don't know, we'll just talk, and then I'm looking for those sparks usually. And you can always spot them. You can see instances, and you can see that twinkle in their eyes, something like that, and it's how about we go? But then it's sometimes it's finding those angles of this is something that clearly means a lot to you. If you're going to write a song about that, how would you do it? You could have one verse that tells this part of it, one verse about this, a chorus. Piece that puzzle together, as we talked about earlier.
The seed, isn't it? It's that seed that grows. It's the twinkle in the eye. It's the little seed that it's a lovely thing.
And that's what I think for anyone looking to start songs is a good way of starting, is find something what gives you that twinkle. That's what you used to do with that concept, is something that ignites you, or like you said, feels a bit mischievous in your songs. It's finding something, rather than say write a love song. Love is nice. It's finding what it is that excites you about a song.
Yeah, that's a really nice way to put it. I love it. I just say lots of words and then you understand them and say them in a way that people can understand. Yeah, that's good. Thanks for being my interpreter there.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
been
yeah,
a
yeah.
yeah, that's been really good, Nicky. Thanks, thanks a lot
Oh,
for
I've
your
loved
time.
it. Absolutely
Really
loved it. It's
interesting.
been so lovely. I might go and write a song. I was
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
and I do
go.
actually have to write a song for the start of October, but obviously I won't start that till the night before. So we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, do I? But yeah,
What have you got right this
brilliant.
time? What's your theme?
Oh, so historical rebels. And again, we've for the genre, we've during lockdown we've eased a little bit off and given people a bit of an easier ride. So it's historical rebels, and you have to start with a chorus, so it's a bit more of a stylistic thing than a musical genre. So
Nice.
and I do have a little bit of an idea, and it is quite cheeky, and it did make me feel mischievous. So we'll see what
Sounds
happens.
good.
So yeah.
Sounds good. Great stuff. Yeah, well, thanks a lot for your time, Nicky. I'll put all your
Thank
links
you.
in the description, and I'll put the links to the Tower Song things. I encourage people to check
Amazing.
it out. And yeah, hopefully speak to you or see you again soon if we can get back to
Yeah.
more events in the near future.
Well, we were talking before you pressed the record button about we had a gig planned. The Bringing It All Back Home project was going to kind of have a gig with you playing at the end of it. So hopefully that will happen, and then we'll have a joyous reunion. So
Yeah, that'd be
yeah,
great, wouldn't it?
yeah, definitely.
Great stuff. Thanks a lot, Nicky.
Thanks, Ben. All the best with it. Take care.
Thank you. And thanks for tuning
Bye.
in. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'll be back on another episode soon.